Thanks for joining today. I'm Andrew Conley. I'm with Althea. Today we're going to just be kind of going over a bunch of different things that Althea is working on in preparation for the Colorado launch. So I think I got to meet some of you in person last week, which was awesome, or see some of you again, which was great at Psychedelic Science. And we're in a very fun, momentous month because here in June, the first legal psilocybin sessions ever in the state of Colorado happened. And so I think a lot of folks who are joining are getting ramped up in that. So what we wanted to do is just lay the groundwork with what we're working on. We can help support all the great work you guys are doing out in the industry. I think we might have some Oregon folks joining as well, or folks from other places too. This is equally applicable no matter where you're at. We're just getting a rundown of the latest things that we're working on. We'll do a little demo of the software and get into the directory a little bit too, and potentially get folks signed up. So maybe you're a user, maybe you're not. Maybe that's what you're interested in. We can kind of get some of that going too, if you'd like. This Terence McKenna quote kind of came to mind as we're thinking about where we're at in the state of all of this. There's been a lot of work that's gone into getting us to where we're currently at, and it's super exciting. We've got our second state live. Not too long ago, we just heard New Mexico is going to come online in some time, which is super awesome. So there's a lot of great foundation that's been laid out in front of us, and there's a lot of hurdles to go. So kudos to all of you who are participating in this in whatever way that is. I'm sure that with Colorado there's a lot that we're learning as we go through this too, when it comes to the forms, the process, and all of that. And so we'll continue to learn together and to dream the impossible dream. All right, we did that. Here's the agenda for today. I'll go over briefly who Althea is for those that don't know. Just talk about us as a group, where we're at, what we're doing. I'm going to be presenting and trying to monitor the chat a little bit. I think my colleague Sarah has hopped in to help with that too. So we'll try to get to some questions. If you have questions or comments, feel free to throw them in there. And I'll probably take a break ever so often to be able to take a look at that and making sure that we're getting things addressed. I'll do a demo of the software so you can see what the platform looks like. We'll go into client matchmaking, some of the things we're doing to help kind of shepherd people who are psychedelic curious into the licensed program. Not on the agenda, but part of that will be the licensee directory that we've put together too. So we wanted to have like a nice central homepage for people who are looking for those who offer services in the legal psilocybin space, a place for them to go to search for those people. That's a lot nicer than like the Dora Dora website or the OHA website. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Forward Fund is our scholarship program to help people pay or subsidize for their costs of a journey. So that's our way to try to help people overcome that hurdle. And then towards the end, we'll save some time for any discussion and Q&A. So who is Althea? We are a public benefit company, which expressly means that we have written into our bylaws and into our ethos that our purpose is public benefit, and our statement is around wanting to promote psychedelic medicines, provide those for more folks, make that more accessible for more people. And we are doing that, and we're doing that in this way because a lot of us come from a health tech background. So we have a lot of experience of building healthcare style technology, and we've been big believers in plant medicine for a long time. I know that, personally, I've used psilocybin for 20-ish years. And while that started recreationally, I think I very early on realized that there's a lot more to this than just recreation. I always walked away with a life lesson. And from those early days, I very much, without having the words for it, kind of understood that like, oh yeah, preparation and integration are a part of this. and wanting to make sure I was having the right setting, because I was like, oh, this is a lot. It's not just it was just a good time. There's different chapters to this and things you'll walk away with. And so I started making sure that I was approaching it more intentionally the more that I started to use it. What we do as an organization is we provide infrastructure for practitioners. So for the licensees in Oregon and Colorado, we're providing the tech tools to make things easier. So there's a lot that goes into running these types of businesses and being able to serve these clients. And we know that the magic special sauce that folks have is being able to sit and hold that space with people. But the magic sauce that we have is backgrounds in tech and healthcare technology. And so we want to make the operations aspect of it a lot easier so that you don't have to worry about that. As we've gone down that path of just chatting with more people, serving more folks in the industry, we continue to just try to uncover what different problems there are and how we can help address those. And so one of the ways that one of the areas that we've found with that is psychedelic care navigation. So, while Oregon has done really well with something like, I think they're saying 12,000 folks served at this point. I think there's a lot of untapped psychedelic curious people out there that don't know that these programs exist, or they have a lot of questions about it, or they need some hand holding through the process. And so with that in mind, we've been turning our eyes towards that problem and trying to figure out how do we build a bridge of people to make sure that folks are aware that these programs exist, and we can do some hand holding along the way to make them feel safe as they come into it. So that all falls under our umbrella of psychedelic care navigation. And we'll get into both of these things here later. This is what our team looks like. That handsome gentleman in the upper right is me, with my co-founders Nico and Sarah up top. We've got Lex in the bottom left, who is our psychedelic care navigator. She's really helping the folks who are coming through, who need some guidance, who can talk with someone about what this process looks like and do some hand-holding. She's our expert in that. TC's our expert of technology, so he's really put the back end together for the software platform and done a fantastic job. We just started building software, I think, last September. And we've got a lot of the Oregon facilitators and centers using us, in Colorado as well, too. So it's been in no short part because of his great work. And then the bottom right, we've got Dr. Scott Thompson. He got to speak at Psychedelic Science last week, and he's done a lot of research in the psychedelic field. He's at the University of Colorado's Department of Psychiatry, and the University of Colorado is a partner of ours, and he's been helping us out. They put together, I think, what's become kind of the standard safety and risk assessment for the Colorado market. So that's built into our tool as well. Him and some other psychedelic researchers from that area have helped kind of pave the way for those types of things. But yeah, he is our academic in the room who helps us along the front of some of those types of questions. All right. Cool. I am going to just kind of take a quick look at some of the comments here. Awesome. Sweet. And we can keep rolling. All right, so let's hop into the software. And so what our platform does is helps with client management. So you can input all client details and track them from the beginning of getting to know them all the way through the end of a journey and beyond. All of the different journeys that they have can be logged here, and you can kind of see that history. So in that way, it kind of functions a little bit as a CRM. There's a lot more to it. As we mentioned here, the state compliance. So we've been doing state compliance since December in Oregon, making sure that all the forms work smoothly. There's a lot that goes into it in Colorado as well. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be filled out. And so we make that easy. We make sure that we're cutting down on what that looks like, so that the user experience is as clean as possible and that you don't have to worry about all of the updates. So for instance, right now in Colorado, though the state has gone live and sessions have happened, the forms haven't been finalized. And so those changes will happen. And the guarantee we make is we'll make sure that we're keeping an eye on those changes and keeping those forms up to date. So as opposed to you having to do that on your own. We make sure that the system stays up to date, and we'll publish updates as we get those types of things so that you're staying compliant. You've got all that record keeping taken care of, so it's a lot easier for you to have to deal with. We also do measuring safety and outcomes. So as I mentioned a minute ago, we have a risk assessment tool that's plugged in there, and it spits out a really nice report that kind of tells you things to be looking for. Are there any red flags here? Are there any yellow flags and things we want to dive deeper into? So it gives you some tools at your fingertips to help with that. And we also do some outcomes measures. So we measure some baselines before a journey, we measure outcomes afterwards. And from that, that just gives the client, the facilitator, the center more information as to how things went. How well did they meet their goals? What could be improved, and do some learning out of that. Maybe you've seen recently that we just released the first psilocybin outcomes awards. So those outcomes come from that data, and we just kind of took a look at the aggregate and said, cool, who had some of the highest scores in different areas, and put together some awards. And the main reason we did that was because we wanted to appreciate the great work that facilitators are doing. And so far, this has been in Oregon because Colorado just got started, but facilitators are doing amazing work. And the outcomes are kind of the proof in the pudding of that. And overall, the program has been really safe with really good outcomes. And so we wanted to acknowledge the folks that were excelling in different areas. And what was really exciting last week when we were at Psychedelic Science, we got to hand out some of those awards. And it was really cool to see people's reactions to it. They were really appreciative. But more than anything, it was really cool for them to start assessing, well, wait, why did I score so high in that category? And they had really interesting ideas and thoughts, or we're like, oh yeah, I know why I score high there. It's because I do these types of things. And that's really cool for me, and I think is really cool for the entire industry, because that's amazing learning. What are these people doing? What is that? How do we keep pushing that bar of excellence higher and higher? I think if we do that and up the level of professionalism, that's only going to attract more people that might otherwise be slightly hesitant to join in on this and to take psilocybin, to take psychedelics, and to work on that healing journey. So that's really exciting for me. Lastly, privacy and security is very important to us. A few of us worked at Epic, a large electronic health records company, before. We're very familiar with HIPAA, with highest levels of privacy and security, generally just working with healthcare data. And so we've made sure that our platform is to the highest standard on that front. Few lessons from Oregon of what we've learned. Facilitators work with multiple centers, and so I think in Colorado it's shaping up to be the same. Where we'll have some centers and some micro healing centers where there'll be a lot of already clients that are doing different modalities that will be working there, but probably a lot of facilitators that are bringing their clients to different centers as well, and kind of have that same model. And so our platform is designed to help with that. We kind of have different facilitators and centers working in different places. And the nice thing is that our system set up to make that really, really easy. And also, the more people that are using it, the less different systems you have to learn. It kind of keeps some efficiencies there. Um, State training programs are great, but should be considered just the beginning. I think a lot of you all probably are aware of that. I think in a lot of ways, the state is kind of creating the baseline, right? And they don't want to go beyond that. I think Colorado's actually done better on that front too, of trying to streamline the program to just make sure that the marketplace is more successful. And it's up to us to say, cool, how do we want this to look, right? This is the bare minimum. How do we push beyond that? And then lastly, in Oregon, we've only scratched the surface of potential demand. There's a high percentage of people in Oregon that aren't even aware the program exists, let alone outside of Oregon. And so I think in the mainstream, we've seen more and more people talking about psychedelic benefits and getting opening up to the concept of that. But I think a missing piece there is and here's how you plug in. These programs exist, they're legal in Oregon and Colorado, and here's how to get there. And so that's something we'll be trying to, with you all, figure out how do we kind of crack that nut and get more people plugged in. Real quick, here's a quick example of kind of some. We did a kind of a retro look where we emailed some past clients of the center and got to look at how their experiences were. And so we see at the top here that 9 out of 10 is how was the average rating for the safety of the experience. Uh, how likely are they recommend their facilitator over 9 out of 10? How likely are they recommend psychedelics generally? 9 out of 10. So we've got some really amazing outcomes here. And I'm sure all of you that are working in it are aware of it too, that this is really powerful stuff. It can be really effective. It's really, really safe. And so how do we, continue to find ways to tell that narrative to more people? Okay, getting into the software itself, a couple of key considerations for those who are new to it. One is we have this concept of sessions, and a session is everything related to an administration. So that's going to include prep, admin, and integration. That is all included in one session. We also have this concept of clients versus sessions. So you can have a client record, and clients can have multiple session records. Maybe they've come in once a quarter or once a year. Within that client record, you can see that history of all the sessions that they've got. The other nice thing about having this separation is the facilitator owns the client record. So the client record is really the record of from that facilitator. So you can keep all kinds of notes, you can keep documents in there. And the client record is unique to that facilitator and it's not shared with anyone else. So the facilitator wants to have a spot where it's like, this is just my information, no one else sees it. The client record is your home space for that. Whereas the sessions get shared with the centers. So the center administrators will have access to that information. They need access to a lot of that documentation, all of the attestations and disclosures and paperwork to make sure that they're running their business right. So we make it easy. So as soon as a session is scheduled at a particular center, it's immediately that information is shared between the center and the facilitator. So there's no back and forth of sending things or whatnot. It just happens automatically within the system. Cool. Let's hop into it. I'm gonna need to share a different screen here, so give me just a second. I can do a window. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, here we are. This is Althea. I'm logged in as a facilitator, and this is my homepage. And we'll start by just walking through getting a client set up, creating a session, doing all of that. Real quick on the left, we can see the concept I was talking about, clients and sessions. And also the context here allows me to switch for what hats I'm wearing. So in my current demo role here, I am both a facilitator that works individually with clients, but I'm also an admin at two different, a healing center and a service center. So if I have my facilitator hat on, I can see my clients' records, the things that I want to see there. But I can also switch my context here. This might be applicable to some of you. And if I did, I would instead of seeing, I wouldn't see any, no client records. But what I do get to see instead, if I go to sessions, is I see all the sessions at the Althea, Colorado Healing Center. So I am not the facilitator listed on all of these, but I get to see all of the sessions scheduled there. So that's how I can kind of switch context and see some different kinds of information. One key thing to note for those getting started in Colorado is a profile thing that you need to do so that it helps with some of the disclosures that clients need to fill out during their session. So click to do that, click on your profile link, go up to settings, and then scroll down here to are you a licensed facilitator in Colorado? If you are, click yes. And this is where you can put in some of the information that's required as part of those disclosures. So you can see I've filled in some contact information, my license number. I realize this is not a valid license number, but we're just doing it for demo practices. Any secondary licenses, And then there's a lot of fee information in here. So they asked to kind of just disclosure of fees. That's one of the documents that gets filled out. So you can come in here and fill this out, as well as some payment information. And if this weren't to go forward, some alternative services. I believe that this one is optional. But anyways, it's important that when you get set up that you come in here and you put this information together, because this is going to pre-populate some of the documents that the client is going to be filling out, and we'll get into that right now. So I filled that out. And I've got my list of clients, and we're gonna, well, let's work with, yeah, we'll work with Kendrick. All right, so I've got a client here. If I wanted to have created a new client, it would have asked me some of this information, contact information, emergency contact info. And here I'm in the client record. I can save some high-level notes. Kendrick is a huge fan of Drake, if you weren't aware yet. And I can see the sessions that I've had. So I've had a session with Kendrick before, and I can create a new one too moving forward. Down here, I can also keep some general notes, and I have access to upload some documents too. So everything in this record is just for the facilitator. So if you want to keep unique stuff, you can keep it right here. I'm going to add a session. I'm going to schedule it at the Healing Center, the Colorado Healing Center. I don't have to pick a date, but I will. I can also decide if this is an individual or a group session. I'll keep it individual, but we, of course, accommodate group sessions. And right there is how you do it, and you could add more of your clients to create that group. Cool. I've created the session. I'm in. We can see the details at the top. I can edit that from here. And down below, we've got the meat of what we go through here in the session. So we've got preparation, administration, and integration tabs. And this is how you're going to this is your working sheet to get folks through the entirety of the session. So right now we can see this is scheduled. That's because we have a date. And Kendrick is preparing. Once everything in the preparation tab is done, then Kendrick's session will move to a state of ready. The way the system knows when they're ready is based on, are these forms completed or not? So since these haven't even been sent, they haven't been completed. When they're completed, you'll see a check mark. I'll show you that. That's when they become ready. Now, if there's certain forms here, you're not sending them for whatever reason, the way to move that forward would be to remove that. So from all of the 3 dots here, you can remove forms and questionnaires if that's not part of your plan for that session. And that tells the system, don't double check to make sure that this is completed before we move to the administration. All right. We can log preparation sessions. So let's say I just did one with Kendrick. I can put in details and log that. And I can add more preparation sessions here, so you can get a log of all the times you've met with them as part of this session. From here, I can send out our baselines questionnaire. This asks some questions, some validated screener questions, so things common in the mental health therapy world. We use ones for well-being, overall well-being, for depression, and for anxiety. And so we can get a baseline reading of where Kendrick sits on those types of things. And we'll get a report sent out of that. This is also what we use on the after the session for outcomes. So we can compare those 2 numbers to say, oh, is there a decrease in anxiety or an increase in their well-being? And that can be really useful for both the client and the facilitator. This also has our safety assessment here too. So this is a little bit longer, but gets some background medical and mental health history and flags some things for follow-up, and gives you a good understanding of where the client is at, where they're coming from, things you want to do. So I'll go ahead and click send on these, and you can see the status is update to now waiting on participant. I'm going to do the same down below. One other thing to note down here is you can default which ones are shown at your center. So you can, I think we have it defaulted to the ones that are going to be need to be required every time. But there's some additional ones. If someone, for instance, needs an interpreter, then you'd want to add this form in. So if there's a form that's not here that you want to add, you can come here, you can add that form in, form is added. Similarly, you can come in and you can remove these forms. So it's good to always double check what forms you're sending ahead of time. If you send them out and then need to add forms and send more, you can absolutely do that. This send doc batch is really all it's doing is sending an email to the client with a link to their portal where all these exist. So if you sent some of them and then you click it, but then you add some more forms and click this again, they'll get the same link, but they'll see more forms now that are in there. So we can go ahead and do that. It kind of validates, cool, I'm sending all of these forms. Awesome, that's great. We do have the option for some pre-population. So I think one benefit of Althea is that we try to cut down as many details that need to be filled out. So things like the date and the center and who's the facilitator. We already have that information in here from the session. And so we pre-populate that into all of these forms. And then some of these custom fields here, like transportation plan, if we happen to know that already, we can put it in there so it pre-populates for the client. We can say that they are going to walk home. I'm just making this up. So that'll pre-populate into the transportation plan ahead of time. So as much as we can, we're trying to cut down on back and forth and filling things out. Cool. These are all now waiting on participant. When the participant fills it out, it'll come back and this sign button will be blue. It'll be filled in, and that's when the facilitator, they'll get a notification, an email notification, then they can come in here and sign it from here, and then this will show as ready or finished, and that'll be our cue to like, cool, we've got some of these documents done and ready, and we're ready to move on. Real quick, let's take a look at the client portal. I see here from this menu, I've got a few different options of things I can do. I can go to the client's record. I can move the participant if all of a sudden they needed to be in a different session. I could move some of this information. I can add a participant. So it's like, oh, okay, it was going to be just Kendrick, but now his friend is coming. So I can add a participant in here. I can also view the portal. It gives you kind of a warning here that you are viewing this for someone else. But once I click send doc batch, I got that email out to Kendrick, and that email has a link that takes him here and has all of these documents for him to complete. It says your turn to complete, gives you a link to do so. As soon as these are completed, they'll move down here into the completed status. So they have access to it, but they'll see that like, oh yeah, I've already done this. All right. Cool. We'll keep moving through this, and then I'll show you a session of what it looks like when it's completed. Quick check on time, we're doing good. Okay. Administration tab. Our software does less like during administration, be in there with the client. You don't need software for that kind of thing. But we collect some details afterwards. So we can collect the dose, which now goes to 2 decimal point places. I'll play with that. We'll say that there was a booster dose. They did Golden Teachers. And I can log a start and end time. No medical or behavioral reaction. This is kind of doing some adverse event checking. So you can fill out these details afterwards to say, cool, this is kind of what happened as part of that journey. There are also some documents down here that are to be filled out. So for instance, with the safety plan, and we can look at this one, this is kind of verifying, has the transportation plan been completed, kind of verifying, did the transportation plan go as it was supposed to. So you can come in here and you can fill out these documents. We'll walk them. I can fill that out. Click submit. Awesome. So we've got this done. So this is a few things that they're asking to fill out after the administration session. Lastly, we've got integration. So similarly to prep, we can log the integration sessions here. We also automatically send out a couple of outcomes and feedback things. We use the MEQ30 as a tool. We send out a day after their experience so they can use this to reflect on it, see how mystical it was. This can be really useful. I found it to be helpful after my experiences as a way to just kind of like reflect on what happened. It could be useful as part of the integration. If you don't want to use it, you can remove it. And then here we've got the outcomes is similar to the baseline. So it's that well-being, depression, and anxiety screenings again. We only use the depression and anxiety if they indicated depression and anxiety on the beginning side. And then some just kind of general feedback things. How safe was this experience to you? How harmful? How well did you meet your goals? How likely are you to recommend psychedelics to a friend? Those types of things to just get some general feedback about how that went for the client. Cool. Once all of that stuff is done, then you'll see that the status is moved to completed, and I can show you what that looks like somewhere. There we go. Trey isn't fully completed. They're post-journey, which means they've gone through the administration session. They've gone through preparation. You can see here kind of how that looks. So we see these nice big green check marks letting us know that, like, yes, all of this documentation has been filled out. We've had a couple of prep sessions. The admin details are in there. They've signed the admin forms. And now they're in integration. So the only thing that hasn't happened is we've got these scheduled for after their session. Which is a little bit on the future. That's just my demo. So they're in post journey. Once these were completed or removed, then they'd be in a status of completed. Cool. Those are the big ones. I'm going to take a look at the nice. I see a comment about knowing which forms are mandatory. Yeah, that's a great question. I believe by default, we include the ones that are mandatory. I'll show you real quick. As a center, you can set that up. So if I log in as put my center admin hat on and I come into forms and I go to state level forms, this include by default allows me to decide which of these should always be included for any new session at my center, which is really cool. So you kind of get to make sure that the facilitators that are working there aren't forgetting anything. So I would say double check that, make sure that that list looks good to you. I believe what we've set up by default for new centers are the ones that seem to be required for each new session. And the ones that aren't included by default are the ones that might only be needed in certain situations. Real quick on that front too, if you're a center and you have your own forms, you can now add that in. So if you wanted to have your own release and liability waiver, you could create that that form here. I can decide whether I want this included by default. And while you don't actually building the form itself into the system, you're linking to it from here. So you put in the link of where you've built that. Maybe this is a DocuSign you already have. You put in the link to that DocuSign, you click create, and then that's going to show up in the forms. And if you've included it as a default form, it'll automatically show up in those sessions. And then if they click send doc batch, it goes out to the client's portal. So when they go in there, they click on the link, it'll take them to DocuSign and they can fill that out. So that allows just a nicer user experience where they've got all of the forms in one place. You can kind of keep track of it all within the system. For new facilitators out there wondering, well, how do I schedule at different healing centers? To do that, you need to chat with the center admin and have them invite you as a facilitator. And so that this is where they do that. They put in the email that you use with Althea, and you get an email saying, hey, you've been invited to facilitate at a particular center. So the next time you're creating a new session and you do the drop down on the centers, you'll see that center in there. Cool. There's some more stuff to go into. The last thing I'll say is it does seem like CDPHE in Oregon will be doing some type of data collection to understand the program. Oregon just started doing this at the beginning of 2025, and so there's some quarterly reporting that happens. And so we've accounted for that in the system, and we make that as easy as possible. So all of our clients in Oregon who have to do quarterly reporting, we have a report for them. This will look different in Colorado, but basically we aggregate all of this information that needs to be reported to the state and make it look just like where they need to input it on the state side. So all of that happens in here. You don't have to do any math. You don't have to track any spreadsheets. And we'll be planning to do the same in Colorado. We don't know how that's going to look yet. They're just at the beginning of figuring out what that's going to look like. But it's a lot easier if you've got all of that in here. And as long as the documentation of the sessions is complete, then your reporting will look good and you have a lot less administrative overhead to complete those types of requirements. Margaret's asked, can individual facilitators add their own forms? No, not within the system at the moment. That's a good enhancement for us to consider at some point. And thank you, Sarah, for answering questions as we go along here. Cool. Yeah, keep the questions rolling, and we'll move on here to some of the other things that we are working on. Awesome. One of the things we are working on is a directory. And so I'll kind of quietly play this in the background as we get through it. But essentially, one of the things we found is, as I mentioned earlier, kind of build a bridge to help those who are not experienced find folks in the industry. And so we've put together a directory. We've seeded it with listings for all of the licensed facilitators and centers in both Colorado and Oregon. And so if that is you and you want to be a part of that directory, you can go in and you can claim your listing. So you can go to list.withalthea.com. You can create a user account and you can find your listing and claim your listing. And so while we've got everybody plugged in, most of the listings that are unclaimed are not going to have photos or description or much about them. So when you claim it, you can add photos, you can get verified, you can put in more details, you can put links to your website and Calendly links so people can schedule with you. You can add tags to make yourself more searchable, all of those types of things. So we wanted to put this together as a better way for the psychedelic seekers to find licensees in the space. At the moment, it might be just searching, door-to-door website for licensees or things of that nature. So by doing this, we're hoping to give a lot more detail, and we plan on promoting the heck out of this. We're going to be driving a lot of website traffic to it for folks who are looking for these services so that they can make connections with you. So I think this is a great place to claim your listing, to get set up in there as we start promoting that this month. There is a cost for this. We are charging $300 a year for featured in the for claiming your listing in the directory. We do have a discount for that for right now. So through the end of this month, if you use the coupon code Althea Friends, and I'll maybe Sarah can post that in the chat, and I can send that out to folks as well. You can get half off for $150 for the year. And our goal is to make this as valuable as possible for you. So like I said, we're going to be putting this in newsletters and making advertisements for this and getting people here so that they've got a good resource to take a look at who's here and kind of match for folks. They can search on different types of reasons they're coming in, PTSD or spiritual growth, and find folks who have those tags or those specialties. And so this is just the beginning of this, so bear with us. There's probably all kinds of great ideas for how we can improve this, but we're going to be working on getting folks here so that they have a good sense of who's out there and can find ways to connect with people, which is part of where we think the next big step is, right? Like the idea of psychedelics and doing them is out in the ether. A lot of people, they want to find those licensed folks who've got the great background like you all do, and being able to do this. And so putting yourself in here and getting them here and getting those connections is where we're going with this. Um, cool. Yeah, like I said, after this, I'll send out more details about this too. How to get in there and get signed up. Actually, if we have, well, we're running a little bit out of time, so we might be able to circle back here. I can kind of actually just walk through it too. So let's see if we do. If not, I'll send the directions on how to get signed up for this. Oh, cool. Next, we've got client matchmaking. So this is kind of the next step down the rabbit hole. So some people might be good enough with like finding folks on a directory and making that connection. We've also found plenty of people who need some more handholding than that. Before they're ready to jump down this path, they've got questions. And so we've been offering psychedelic care navigation as kind of our way to help with that. And so if you go to our website, you'll see like, oh, this is actually set up a little bit more for customers than it is for the facilitators and centers. And there, we do have info for you and you can get there. But we're curious, like, where for these folks landing here, how can we help them along the path? And so maybe they're ready to find services. Maybe they're looking at this for a loved one that they think this could be really helpful for. Or maybe they're just exploring and they've got questions or they want to chat with someone. So we're helping those who are psychedelic curious, and we just want to meet them where they're at, provide them information, and if they want to continue down that path, help them along with the end goal of trying to match them with a facilitator that will work for them. So um, when we get to that point, we actually have them fill out a little survey to get some info about them, and we can use that to try to match them with a few facilitators or centers that we think might be a really good fit that they can chat with so they can become clients. And along that way, we're providing them with content. They're chatting with us and with our team member Lex to just kind of see where they're at, what's going on. They might be completely new to it or they don't know how this process works. So we can explain to them what this looks like, right? We can connect them with people who have gone through it before, or just connect them with facilitators to chat about it as well. So we just want to meet people where they're at and see how we can help them down that path. Um, One of the ways we do that is with the Forward Fund. We've had this up since March or April, and a Forward Fund is our way to give back, to give to people to help them overcome the financial burden of going through this. We know that this is, where it's at. We're at the beginning of this program in Colorado and Oregon. It is expensive. The financial barrier can be a hurdle for people. If you have people that run into that as a hurdle, I would encourage you to point them to the Forward Fund on our website and they can apply. So this is a scholarship fund that we have seeded, that we're actively making. We're actually handing out money towards people so that they can get discounted or fully covered excuse me, journeys. So what they do is they fill out a little application. Our Forward Fund is set up. It is lottery style. So we wanted to try to make sure that we didn't have any bias in it, kind of make it as neutral as possible. They fill out a well-being screening to kind of understand the significance of the need, and they fill out a financial screener which doesn't ask any like detailed financial information. That's another thing we didn't want to broach, is like checking pay stubs or all of that kind of stuff. But we ask a 5-question thing to see what is the extent of their financial need. Based on that, they get so many tickets in the lottery. The bigger the well-being need, the more submissions in the lottery they get. The bigger the financial need, the more percentage coverage they potentially get. And then from time to time, we draw the lottery, randomly pick out a name from it, and make an award. And so if you've got folks who are, yes, I really want to do this, but I'm struggling to pay for it, I think this can be really helpful. On that front, also, if you know of folks who are like, man, this would be really cool, I'd love to help contribute to this. We've been working on it with our partners at Tricycle Day, which is an awesome newsletter if you haven't heard of it in the psychedelic space. They've been helping promote it and get it out there. And we're looking for more people to jump in on this too. So if you have folks who are like, yeah, I've been trying to find a way to kind of give back to help just get more people past the financial barrier. Right. And I think, likely a lot of us kind of think like, cool, just the more people we can get out in the world taking psychedelics, then the more people can talk to those people about taking psychedelics, and just the greater the mycelium network extends for us. So if you've got folks who would be interested in contributing or being part of this, let us know. If you be interested in being a part of this, let us know too, because we'd love to be able to, fully cover everyone who applies for this. Would be the eventual goal if we can get that kind of sustainability. I'll send out a link for this as well. Cool. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. This is being recorded, so we'll be able to share that information out, as well as links. If you've got more questions, we're happy to answer those too. But yeah, let's move into the Q&A. Cool. I'm just reading through some questions here. Yes, the discount is good through the end of June. We might extend that a little bit too, but don't bank on it. So I'd say the sooner you can get in there, the better. Also, the more people we get claimed listings in there, the more ready we'll be to start promoting that across the board. And we really want to get that going so that people are like, oh yeah, Colorado is happening. How do I plug in? Boom, I've got all of this information right here. Cool. Looks like Sarah's done the heavy legwork for me on this. Let's do one other thing before we wrap up here, and I'll just walk you through how to sign up on the directory. Give me just a second. I'll pull that up so I can kind of just walk it through with folks. Cool. All right, so here's the directory. I put myself into it, excuse me, incognito mode, so I kind of start from the beginning here. You can poke around and just kind of take a look at what this looks like. The first thing you're going to want to do if you're like, cool, I want to claim my listing, is you're going to sign in. You can sign in with Google or with Facebook. I'm going to sign in with my test account that I have created. And so you kind of just create an account here. This will allow you to have like listings under your name. Cool. So I'm now logged in, and now what I maybe want to do is find my listing and claim it. Let's say that cool. We'll say that I am the center admin for Core Center. So I'm like, cool. I'm looking for my listing. I search Core and I can find it and go in here and claim it. If you don't find your listing, we're going to try to keep this up to date, but I know that they're granting more, approving more licenses rapidly. So if you don't see your listing in here, you can come up here and click Add Listing. It'll ask you for some details about that listing, which you can submit, but it kind of follows the same process. You first need to sign in, then add listing or find your listing, and then we will approve it on the back end. So if I was going to do that for Quora, I'd come in here, minimal details. I can click claim listing. In the details, put something in here that helps us verify that you are the rightful owner of this. If we don't have enough that comes in this, then we'll reach out and kind of do some double check. I'll just put in something for that. I'm claiming for $300, but we're not at the checkout page yet. So here is our checkout page. You can add in the coupon here to get half off for the year. Once you submit this, I'm not going to do it. This will then send us a notification that someone has claimed a listing or they've created a new listing if you went that route because yours wasn't in there. We do a double check on the back end, make sure everything looks good, you're licensed. We approve it. Once it's been approved, then you can come back in, add all of the details, add photos, add videos, all that kind of stuff. We'll also be making sure that folks are verified as part of that, so you get that green check mark. And yeah, you can keep shaping this up. As we promote it and we learn more about how it's being used, we'll make sure to give feedback to folks to kind of understand, like, hey, here's what people are coming in, here's what they're searching for. This is how it's best being used so that you are optimizing your searchability in this. This is new, so we have run into just a few kinks here and there as we're working things out. There is some support documentation up here. You can always email us as well. And much like we have on our general website and within our app, we have this message tool here. So we've got an AI bot that's got some of the documentation, so you can ask questions of it. We also immediately see these notifications and monitor it as well. And if we need to jump in, we jump in and help you through it too. So that's some of the support you can get. I'm seeing a question from Dana. What if you're in the process of licensing, finishing up additional training? We are if you've got the facilitator in training license, we'll add you in, and we've got a category for that. If you're not to that point, I would say wait till that point to get approved to get in here. Right now we're keeping this to the licensed facilitators and centers in both the states, and kind of we'll build it out from there. And if you've got any feedback or suggestions on how we can improve things, let us know too, because we'll be, like I said, we're at the beginning of this. We'll be looking to do a lot of improvements, and specifically, our goal with this is to do a lot of engagement, making sure that the people that are out there that are wondering how to plug into this are finding this. And so that'll be our biggest thing, is making sure that we're getting website traffic up that are landing in connections for you all. Cool. Let's see if there's any other questions from Dana. Will you be able to use this platform for other medicines, ketamine or MDMA, when it becomes available? Generally speaking, yes. We are, this program is made for the state license programs. I believe we've got some folks who run ketamine clinics who use this. It's possible there might be some different requirements we don't account for at the moment. I think in the long term, we'll absolutely be expanding what we're doing to account for more other types of psychedelics and medicine. So if that's something you're interested in, I would say, or something you're actively doing, play around with it, see if it fits your needs. And if it doesn't, feel free to send us feedback, and that'll help us understand what we would need to do to make that more useful. Jewel, who is licensed in Oregon and Colorado, has a question about, you're licensed in both, but it gives you just has you choose one category or the other. Yeah. Appreciate that feedback. That is a limitation right now. So we need to kind of brainstorm how we best want to allow for the double licensure there. And I think we have a note from you from earlier this week. So that is on our list to figure out. So we will get back to you on that. Cool. All right, everybody. I think we can go ahead and wrap up there. If you had a question and it didn't get answered, if you've got other questions, feel free to email me. My email is andrew@withalthea.com, or you can email support@withalthea.com too. We will make this video available for everyone and send out some links and details that we've talked about and shared in here. Yeah, so don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for all the great work you're doing. Feel free to share this information with other folks you know too. If there's other people we should get in front of to let them know what we're working on that you think would be good connections, we would love that. Have a good Friday.